Good morning. It's around 11:30. It's a Thursday, and I just wanted to kind of touch base on what's happening in this world right now. Kind of just give my insights, and I think if you really want to find a practical theology that you can attack this world with, go read the book of James, and look what James tells a lot of. James is a very early written book, epistle, letter, whatever you want to call it, within the New Testament. And James is the half brother of Jesus. And when you look at James, you look at how he actually takes practical theology and he gives it to these people that need an understanding that they do not need to fall away from their faith. And we need to really look at that, and we really need to see where we're at today, because most people that hold to a pre-trib view, thinking they're going to be raptured up out of here, they're going to be, when they actually go through the tribulation, they're not going to have basic theological concepts to hold on to, because they've been taught such a weak gospel that basic theology should be your base, right? Well, they don't even have that base because they believe they're going to be raptured up out of here, so they're just coasting along. I look at it like a fighter. I boxed and I kickboxed for a lot of years. I actually held an amateur title in Texas, a middleweight title in kickboxing, and of course I'm no pro, but I did have many hours and I did train with a lot of pro fighters. But the idea of it is, when you're in that ring and you are fighting and you get tired or fear comes about, what normally will kick in is your basics. Is your basics, what you have learned and perfected over the years of basics, your basic punching combinations, your basic kicks, your basic head movement will all be natural. It will be naturally brought about through, it's ingrained into your muscle fibers, that your movements is now second nature to you. So when you look at theology, we should have a basic understanding of theology of what do we hold on to. And when you go through stuff, that basic theological concept of who God is and who we are and what Jesus did for us, and that we have our salvation is in a conditional state, that we maintain it through staying in Jesus. I don't maintain my salvation. Jesus did that, but my relationship with Jesus, I have to put that into effect. I have to, Jesus says in John 15, he says, if you remain in me, I will remain in you. And remaining or staying is the word. That is what James is basically telling these Christians, that they have a part to play in this walk it's called sanctification. In this end days that we're living in, most people are not ready for what's coming. And we need to have a basic theology that we can stand on and that we live by. James is what they call the New Testament Proverbs. He gives practical wisdom to live by. And so we really need we really need to focus on that. We really need to focus on what we know, and do we really believe what we know about Jesus? I don't hold to once saved, always saved. I don't hold to a pre-tribulation view. I hold that we have a conditional view of salvation. I hold that we will go through the tribulation. It's a post-trib view. Or, I could possibly say mid-trib. Mid-trib or post-trib, I could probably fall in either category. But probably closest to what I see in Scripture is a post-trib view. That we mimic the church, the remnant, will mimic Jesus in the last days. That we will look a lot like how Stephen, the first martyr, looked. Whenever they saw Stephen, they saw Jesus. He said exactly what Jesus said. And I believe in the end days, when we are living through the tribulation and we're being persecuted, because Jesus says we will, and we are enduring, and then we will more than likely be martyrs, we need to really look at what do we look like? Do we look like cowards, or do we look like Jesus? And to me, a raptured view before the tribulation is really a coward view out of it. And Jesus died for us. We should be ready to die for him when the time comes. We should be able to stand firm in our faith and not denying. He says we must, in the book of Revelation, he says we must be conquerors. Jesus tells us that who endures to the end will be saved. There's so much terminology that we ignore because of certain doctrines we hold to, or traditions that we hold to. And James breaks those traditions completely up. Go read the book of James straight through, and do not add any doctrine that you've been taught in a Baptist church, really in any American understanding of church. When you look at Scripture, it is a real weak view of Scripture, a real weak view of who Jesus is and who we are as the church. We're supposed to look like Jesus. Jesus did not get raptured out of here. He stayed and he went to the cross. We should be going to the cross. When we went to the cross and died with him, you need to understand our baptism is a funeral. We die to self. We die to who we are so that we can become more like Jesus. And that's not an easy concept. There's a cost involved. Jesus tells us that when you say yes to him, there's a cost that you have to look at. So let's really look at that and see what does our life look like. Do we have a basic theology that we can stand on that looks like Jesus? Or do we have a basic theology that looks like traditions? Something to think about. That's all I got today. Go share Jesus with somebody. God bless.